Hi, I'm Peyton from Kearns High. I'm in 11th grade, and these are the apps that I use the most, or that are the most favorite apps of mine. Splice, which is a video app to create slideshows, and I use that app in my history class, my English class as well. I use it for biographies and documentaries, just to capture any information that I'm putting my presentation on, and I put music with it or pictures that inform the watcher. My other app that I use is dictionary.com, and I use this app anytime I need to find definitions in any of my classes, mostly medical terminology and English vocabulary. Another app that I use a lot would be Flashcard app. I use this in my medical anatomy class for our body anatomy definitions and my med-term definitions as well. I don't use it as much in that class, but I also use it in my English class for all vocabulary for poetry or books. I use photo collage a lot, mostly in my history class when I'm putting together history pictures. I use PE Studio, which is picture edit, and I just edit those pictures to make my slideshows or collages clearer and more like clean instead of fuzzy or blurry. I fix that with PE Collage or PE Studio. I love Pandora just to listen to music when I'm done with all my work in class. 3D Brain, I use that only in my medical anatomy class, and it just is a fun way of learning about the brain. Whiteboard we use in medical anatomy for reviewing, so we play games and review on that app. Stanza I use in my English class, and that just shows us books that we might be reading and anything like that we're learning in English. Office 2, which is where I send most of my documents and short stories to be reviewed. Evernote is a app that I use in history to write my notes down, and it's just a more organized way of writing my notes and sending them to my teacher.
Hi, my name is Emily Merrill, and I am an Cougar over at Kearns High School, and I just want to talk to you about a few of my favorite apps that I love to use on my iPod Touch. One of them that I really like to use is Dragon Dictation. It is an app where you just speak into the microphone of your iPod or your computer, and you just talk, and then the computer or your iPod will just automatically type up your words for you. And it is very useful for doing reports, essays, but the bad thing about it is that it only does one paragraph at a time. But other than that, I really enjoy this app. Another one of my favorite apps would have to be Bump. It is my favorite app to use with my friends when we are exchanging photos or music, titles, and even contacts. It is very efficient. All you need is the internet and the other iPod, and you just hit them together and all the information is sent over. Another one that I really like to use is Red Laser. I can scan barcodes of certain things like grocery items, or just any price tag, and if I have the internet, the red tag will automatically bring up its price, varying from store to store. Another one of my favorite apps is iBooks. I use iBooks to read or to even just collect my PDFs from my classes. And then I can just go back and forth from iBooks to my assignment on the internet, or from iBooks onto my assignment on paper, which is a very nice tool also. Another one that I use is Office. I use Office to collect my PDFs or to make my PDFs for my classes, for essays, or just for my own use for reminders. There are a few apps that I use for calculus a lot, and I have a hard time with calculus, so these apps have really helped me out a lot. A few of them are Calculus FTW, which is just the basic explanation of calculus and what it does. I'm able to go back and learn from the examples that they present, and from animated slideshows also, that I can move my finger around on a screen and it'll show like the tangent of a graph or various things like that. I also use a lot of Formulas Free, which is a free app where I am able to get all my formulas back from geometry up to algebra, and even to calculus, for all the formulas that I need for derivatives, for the area of a rectangle, the first fundamental theorem of calculus, and stuff like that. I also use Quick Graph, which I'm able to use to graph 2D and 3D objects, and it allows me to rotate my 3D objects and to expand and to be able to see my mins and maxes on my 2D points also. Let me think of another one. I also use flashcards a lot for government. We have a lot of terms that we have to use or we have to memorize, and I'm able to just quickly, without writing anything down except for typing, I'm able just to swipe my finger, and if the flashcard flips over for me, it saves paper and it saves my hand a lot of writing stress. I'm also involved with orchestra, and I use a lot of the music apps also. I'm a violinist, so I use the violin tuner, which allows A just to be played, just the A, the D, the E, and the G strings, and I'm able to use that app to be able to tune. I also use Piano Free, which allows me to mess around on a little miniature piano, and I'm able to use that to just compose my own songs or to find certain pitches for my sharps or my flats on certain notes. That is also which is very useful in my case. Well, those are all the apps that I have currently right now. I also use the internet, which is a very useful thing. Most of my teachers have their own websites where I'm able to do my self-starters on them or to get my assignments off of, and it's a very, very useful tool, and I hope that everybody will be able to use the internet sometime in their future for their classes. I also use my email a lot to email my teachers to find out when assignments are due, or if I need help on an assignment, they'll email me back with some helpful hints, or even just for some simple drawings that they have drawn to help me out with certain like triangle formulas, or for a hint on an essay that I'm writing. Let me think of what else I'm using. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask those that are broadcasting this video. They will have the answer most likely. They will most likely have the answer. So please feel free to talk to them about any other questions that you might have concerning these apps, because they most likely have these apps on their iPod also, except for the calculus ones that I have mentioned and the orchestra ones. But other than that, they will be more than willing to answer your questions. Thanks. And again, my name is Emily Merrill, and I go to Kearns High School.
Hello, I'm Jordan Robinson from Kearns High School, and these are my favorite apps on the iPod. My first favorite is one called Notes Master Lite. This is a fast and easy way to organize all your notes by class and by subject. Then my next favorite one is an app called Dropbox. This is one that allows you to save any type of document such as Word, pictures, music onto an online server. The next one is Splice. This one is good because you can make different slideshows and presentations with music, pictures, or text for all your classes. you can also upload these to YouTube for others to see. My next favorite one is Office Squared. This is a Windows program on the actual iPod where you can create Excel, document, and PowerPoint. My next favorite is one called Flashcards. This allows you to put words onto the cards and on the back side a definition. This helps you to memorize each of these words and be sure you can ace all your tests. The next one is one called My Homework. My Homework allows you to stay organized and know what you have for homework every single night. It'll also link to your calendar so that it'll notify you when you need to do this. My next one is Evernote. This is an online server that you can create documents and email them to your teachers. This is very, very useful because it doesn't have to be saved onto your iPod. It saves online and you can access it anywhere you go, no matter where you are. The next one is iStudies Lite. This one allows you to pretty much organize what classes you have at what times, your assignments, and what you should be doing each day. It'll also link to your calendar so you know what you need to do no matter where you are, as long as you have your iPod. And the next one is 75,000 favorite quotes. This organizes it by subject so you can use these quotes in things such as papers. And papers can be written better with quotes that go along with the subject, so it has a large variety of different subjects. Another one is called Raspberry. This one pretty much lets you select what classes you have what days and the room number that they're in, so you can walk around without having to look at a schedule. The next one is called Photomas. This is an app where you can put different photos such as assignments or words or anything you need really, and you can have it all on one theme. This can be useful because you can put things such as words and definitions and put that as the background on your iPod, so every time you unlock it you can see and review these words. Those are my top 10 favorite apps. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, I'm Zachary Lester, and my favorite apps that I use during school are Splice, which is a video editing software, very user-friendly. Flashcards, it helps you to memorize vocabulary and characters. Office 2, you can edit any documents or you can create them. It also works with cloud folders. Photolure PS, which is a really awesome, almost a Photoshop, and you can do almost anything that you can in Photoshop with it besides layers. And then Free Graph Calc, which is a really great one for my math class to creating graphs and everything.
My favorite apps to use for school are Stanza, which allows me to get books that I need to read for class and read them on my iPod instead of checking out a book and having to keep track of it. I have the book on my iPod. And Flashcards, which allows me to make study cards for the things coming up in like tests or just to do the vocabulary given in certain classes. And another one of the apps that I like is Splice, which allows me to make slideshows for school projects and stuff like that, and be able to present them to the class if I plug them into a projector or something. And that's what I have to talk about.
Some of my favorite apps to use for school are Notes. On Notes, you can take notes on whatever you need in your classes, and you don't have to pull out paper and write it down, and it's a lot quicker to write notes. I also like using the calculator app for math because it's just right there. And I use the flashcards app, and I put all my vocabulary words in there that I need to memorize so that I can memorize them. And I like to use factor tree because it helps you with all the square roots to find out what numbers you need to use, and then you don't have to do all the math for it. And those are some of the apps I like.